Bloop.
What could possibly go wrong?
Bubsy the Bobcat. Hate him or hate him, he exists. Legend has it that detainees in Guantanamo Bay were forced to play his games as a means of psychological torture. Of course there's no proof of this psyop. The CIA have always denied allowing prisoners access to leisure activities. A recent survey by anti-torture campaigners revealed that 98.3% of those surveyed believe that the Bubsy games cannot legally be considered a leisure activity in regards to the several violations of the Geneva Convention. The other 1.7% of people are massive masochists who unwind playing Dark Souls while actually on fire. But, you may ask, why am I talking about these games? Do I have any sort of anecdotes from my past? Does Bubsy mean something to me in some incomprehensible fashion? No. In fact, I've never played the Bubsy games before. I'm aware of their reputation as a bunch of terrible titles though. I decided, in my infinite wisdom, to attempt to play these disastrous relics. It's April after all, and April needs a fall. So come suffer with me on this journey of shite. It can't be as bad as people say, right? It can't be as bad as people say, right? Bastard the Bob shat itself into existence in 1993's Claws Encounters of the Third Kind, from the cranium of Michael Berlin and his team at Accolade. Now I love a terrible pun or three, so it's only fair to say that the game's titles are the definite highlight of the experience. The game itself is, for want of a better word, moribund. You control Bubsy as best as you can, while he flails around the screen. You can jump and glide, but the game feels too slow to respond to your intended actions. This footage isn't just me playing badly for exaggeration. I really struggle with getting this git around. T-shirts scattered across the environment award you extra lives, though it's unwise to prolong this crap game any longer than necessary. Running at top speed, it's utterly inevitable that you're going to run into something that's going to kill you. At least the slower glide allows you to skip over most of the level, thank God, but again, you don't know what you'll fly headfirst into. Even worse are the deaths that are unbelievably cheap. Sometimes you won't even understand why. I genuinely had no idea what killed me here. Or here. And who designed this fucking piano sliding down a hill out of nowhere? How about an inexplicable wheel of cheese? These deaths and their allegedly funny animations are only a brief reprieve from the pain. Bubsy has several voice lines, which play at the start of each level.
What could possibly go wrong?
All of which are bizarre non sequiturs delivered in what could be described as the most annoying, cartoony voice you can imagine.
Did I mention I don't like height?
Compressed to a bit rate that would make Van Gogh's other ear a prime target for removal.
More like a bridge too short.
I hate it. The bastard repeats the same line every time you die. Every
Did I mention I don't like height?
fucking
Did I mention I don't like height?
time.
Did I mention I don't like height?
The music is no better, a cacophony of sounds vaguely assembled into a sequence that makes me feel that track from Resident Evil Director's Cut should have been a Grammy winner. Graphically, it feels very all over the place. The enemy animations don't feel fluid at all, just made up of disjointed frames. Not that you'll get to see them before you die, of course. Sometimes it's hard to tell a platform from the background, making leaps of faith a regular occurrence. Nothing stands out design-wise either. The backgrounds looking so generic they were probably lifted from basic cartoony backgrounds for dummies Volume 1. Somehow, Bixby the Boycott returned the following year. in the utterly boringly named Bubsy 2. Forgoing any sort of pun titles loses points here, so the sequel is off to a very bad start indeed. Most of the same shite though. This time around, instead of balls of wool, you have to collect marbles. There's definitely a joke in there somewhere. Before you even start, the game asks you what you want to play for, points or time. Now they're really openly taking the piss, they're not even trying to hide it. Unfortunately, I can't delay the inevitable any further, so I reluctantly jump in. This time the game kicks you into a hub world of levels to pick between, though no matter your choice you're still playing Bubsy 2. Here the controls feel a touch worse than the first game. Now you have two jump buttons, one is an actual jump, and the other just exists to take the piss for some reason. Your sudden boost in running speed won't help you avoid instant death traps though, like this water that I must have landed in at least 5 times in the space of a minute. Other levels try to frustrate you in different ways, such as the side-scrolling shooter that feels like you're piloting the Bismarck in a sea of glue. The stiffness of movement makes tight manoeuvring problematic, along with odd hitboxes that again kill you when you least expect. Speaking of the sweet embrace of death, you at least have a few hit points before Bubsy keels over this time, but that won't save you from the return of abysmal level design and poor enemy placement. Like, where do I go here? I return to the left and end up back at the start. Turns out there's a door, one door, that I have to use to progress. I didn't come here for moon logic, you mangy cat. The music and sound effects are somehow far worse this time around. Now I didn't know if it was an error in the emulator's sound processor, so I checked out other clips on YouTube and yes, this shit is indeed intentional. It makes the Crazy Bus title screen theme sound like an overlooked avant-garde masterpiece. I have to admit, I look back and I am so thankful that my family never bought me Bubsy 1 or 2 when I was a kid. They'd usually surprise me with a trip to Woolworths to pick out a game I wanted, rather than taking a chance on their own intuitions. Good move, I say, but I know there were others who were far less fortunate. To any child in the mid-90s waking up to a box of steaming bobcat shite, my heart goes out to you all. You have my sympathies. I hope you have recovered from the trauma you suffered as a result. Please know that you are not alone. As if that wasn't enough, by the end of the same year the Atari Jaguar was graced by the presence of the annoying creature, this time in Fractured Furry Tales. It was a massive success and the Jaguar became the best-selling console of all time. Is what I would say if any of that statement had the smallest molecule of truth to it. In reality, the game was utter tripe, didn't increase the sales of the console, and was very quickly forgotten about. At last the era of Bubsy was over. The world slowly began to heal from the catastrophic impacts left by the Bubsy 3D Fur-Bitten Planet, arrived in 1996 to little fanfare. The return of Bollocks the Biscuit heralded a new direction, any, for the misguided mascot. At the time the idea of 3D platformers was still in fresh, experimental early stages. Until this point, Crash Bandicoot was the best specimen, yet that was incredibly limited by only having a fixed plane of movement and no way to swivel the camera. Bubsy 3D redefined the genre by crafting a believable, truly 3D space, fantastic movement physics, a camera that perfectly tracks the player, and completely changed the gaming landscape forever. Oh wait, no, sorry, that was Super Mario 64, a game which Bubsy went head to head with at that year's E3 show. Bubsy stood less than zero chance against Nintendo's utterly revolutionary plumber juggernaut, but instead of going home with his tail between his legs, Bubsy 3D eventually launched on PlayStation to a fanfare of flatulence. The so-called game begins with a lengthy CG intro, where nothing much happens except bland exposition until the furry freak appears at the very end to shit on everything.
Was it something I said?
The game itself looks like the Jaguar exclusive Cybermorph, but somehow worse, getting rid of the green woman who berates your aviation skills.
Where did you learn to fly?
And instead replaces her with even more annoying Bubsy soundbites about inane shite.
What would a platform game be without platforms?
You'll need to walk into question mark icons for mechanic tutorials, because nothing in this game is explicitly clear, though you'll regret it when the information's delivered via the most annoying voice you could possibly imagine.
Yo! Woolies! My enemies! Let's bop 'em! Look! A Maroon convention!
As for the controls, let's just say, imagine classic Lara Croft's platforming tank controls, but now she's got 50kg weights tied to her legs and running through a sea of wet cement. As for jumping, I guarantee you'll miss every jump you attempt at least twice. The camera awkwardly angles itself above you every time you jump, which really doesn't make things easier when trying to land precisely on enemies' heads. And the glide? Most of the time I tried it, the glide didn't work, and when it did I was already near the ground anyway, so it was pointless. I managed to get through 1.5 levels before reconsidering all my life choices that have led me to this stressful shitfest, and gave up. You win, Bubsy. You've actually broke me. I hope you're proud of yourself. Unfortunately, this wasn't the last the world heard of Band-Aid the Gobshite. He somehow had the audacity to return in late 2017 in the Woolies Strike Back, which was critically mauled, and showed his mangy face again in 2019's Paws on Fire, which was apparently somehow crowdfunded. At the end of the day, you've only yourselves to blame. Going forward, a collection of old Bubsy games has been confirmed for all modern consoles, should you loathe yourself that much.
Were you expecting someone else?
Did you have to suffer this fraudulent feline fucker? Let me know in the comments below. Perhaps we can all heal together as a group. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to do us all a favour